Change can happen swiftly when guided by deliberate action. A 90-day time frame can unify efforts that otherwise remain scattered or half-finished, giving you a structured path to shed old habits or develop new ones. Rather than aiming for daily leaps, you focus on purposeful steps that accumulate steadily. Each morning might introduce a short challenge, each evening a brief reflection, and within weeks, you see evidence that you're capable of growth you once deemed long range or even out of reach. Committing to such a concise window adds urgency without sacrificing depth, because you're neither spreading change too thin nor rushing it in a blur of unplanned experiments. The accountability that comes from a defined period is key. You regularly measure where you stand, adjust if needed, and keep your vision firmly set on that transformative outcome. By balancing drive with steady pacing, you gradually shift your habits, mindset, or even professional aims, letting minor successes reinforce motivation. When the 90 days draw to a close, the real surprise is often how these targeted efforts have woven themselves into your routine. You find you've not only improved certain skill sets or broken unhelpful patterns, but you've elevated your entire sense of possibility, carving out a new self-image shaped by consistent, meaningful progress. Designing a 90-day transformation usually begins with clarity about what you truly intend to change and why. It might be health, mindset, career direction, or deeper personal growth. But a scattered approach yields scattered results. Building a tight roadmap means picking a few clear areas and defining what success will look like by the 90-day mark. This clarity isn't about listing every micro goal. Instead, it's painting a vivid picture of your final outcome and outlining how you'll measure progress each week. When you understand what you aim to become, how your daily routine, demeanor, or skill set should differ, motivation stays alive long after the initial excitement fades. Many people get stuck in the idea that reinventing oneself requires an all-or-nothing overhaul in every domain. The more effective approach is to choose specific targets. If you want to overhaul fitness, break it down. More nutritious meals, regular short workouts, better sleep. If you seek a mindset shift, pinpoint daily affirmations, journaling, or a short meditation that nudges your worldview toward resilience. These small, steady steps create a momentum that can take root far more effectively than trying to revamp everything at once. A common element of any successful 90-day plan is scheduling regular checkpoints. You might set aside a short time each Sunday to review how the past week went, which goals moved forward, which slipped, and how you'll adjust for the next week. This check-in sparks a healthy sense of accountability, reminding you that time is ticking and your transformation has a finite window. Week by week, you observe the pace, whether you're on track with your milestone tasks or if you need to ramp up. Over 90 days, these mini assessments let you see patterns quickly. Maybe you consistently skip a certain exercise session or find certain mornings less productive. With that insight, you can rearrange, recommit, or refine until the process works smoothly. Resilience in the face of setbacks is crucial. If you skip a few days of planned actions, it's easy to let guilt or frustration derail the entire program. But the beauty of a 90-day arc is that you have enough runway to recover if you catch your errors early. Instead of interpreting a slip as failure, treat it as feedback. Ask why you missed those things. Was it scheduling chaos, a lack of real commitment to that particular goal, or simple forgetfulness? By tweaking your approach, maybe setting a reminder on your calendar, moving the activity to a better time slot, or seeking a partner for mutual accountability, you can course correct. Each pivot after a stumble fortifies the notion that transformation isn't about perfection from day one, but about learning to adapt and persist. Small ritualistic habits can reinforce your broader shift. A short morning routine, like a few pages of reading, a quick gratitude note, or a brief session of mindful breathing, prepares your mindset for a day that aligns with your reinvention. These routines act as mental anchors, telling your brain that you're in a phase of focused change. Each repeated act cements the message: I'm investing in becoming a more refined version of myself. Over 90 days, these brief routines accumulate into something tangible, a daily practice that stands even after the challenge ends. You emerge not just with a one-time burst of improvement, but with a framework of habits that continue guiding you forward. A huge driver of self-reinvention is shedding old baggage. Past failures or limiting beliefs can linger in your thoughts, whispering that real change is unlikely. Confronting these echoes often means deliberately questioning them each time they arise. If you notice a thought like, I've never been good at discipline, you might counter it with, I'm learning discipline through structured daily tasks. Over time, replacing self-limiting chatter with constructive dialogue redefines how you see yourself. This mental rewiring can take root more quickly under the urgency of a 90-day plan, since you're repeatedly challenging negative beliefs with evidence of small successes, maybe finishing a tough workout, hitting a new productivity milestone, or noticing you bounce back faster from a minor setback. Self-awareness grows when you condense your goals into this time frame. You start noticing which distractions pull you off track, which emotional triggers sabotage your motivation, and how you respond to moments of boredom or stress. Some might discover they crave novelty when things get monotonous, leading them to abandon projects. Others might see they avoid challenging things by immersing themselves in busy work. A 90-day structure with consistent tracking shines a spotlight on these tendencies, giving you a chance to address them head-on. That awareness remains a cornerstone of self-reinvention. To change, you must first catch yourself in the act of old patterns, then steer yourself toward healthier behaviors. Outside support can be transformative if used wisely. Some people find value in telling friends about their 90-day goals, seeking gentle checks or words of encouragement. Others partner up with someone aiming for a similar reinvention, creating a mutual support system. When momentum flags, a friend's question, "How's your project going?" can nudge you back on track. However, this external help only works if it's well-defined. If you rely on casual, keep-me-on-track promises, you risk half-hearted follow-through. A formal pledge or scheduled updates, maybe exchanging a weekly progress email, ensures that accountability moves beyond a vague statement into a tangible routine. Reshaping your environment is another step that can power your 90-day journey. If your goal involves healthier eating, stock your kitchen with the right foods, removing temptations that derail your meal plans. If you're determined to develop a new skill, set up a specific workspace or ensure your reference materials are visibly arranged. You want your physical surroundings to reinforce your intended changes rather than pulling you back to old comforts. Over 3 months, this purposeful environment supports your daily grind. Each time you see that workout gear laid out or that musical instrument in a quiet corner, you're reminded of the commitment you made. Mindset shifts accelerate when you celebrate partial wins instead of waiting for a grand finale at the end of 90 days. Setting small milestones at day 7, day 14, and beyond keeps you engaged. Each one could mark a completed module, a cleared hurdle, or a skill level you finally reached. By acknowledging these mini achievements, you feed your brain positive reinforcement. I am progressing. This fosters a self-image of someone who finishes things, adapts when stuck, and steadily transforms. Meanwhile, if you only look to the 90th day for validation, the midpoint might feel stagnant. Celebrating along the way prevents that slump, carrying you forward with renewed energy. Emotional clarity is often overlooked, but crucial for reinvention. If you harbor unresolved emotional burdens, they can sap your drive, making your efforts feel superficial. Investing time early in the 90 days to process, heal, or release any emotional knots, like grudges, regrets, or anxieties, builds a firmer foundation. It might be as simple as journaling each night or as involved as seeking a mentor or counselor for a few sessions. Once the emotional static settles, your 90-day transformation has less internal friction, letting you sprint rather than hobble through change. Time blocking is a classic but effective tactic in a 90-day metamorphosis. You designate chunks for core tasks. Morning might be for reading or physical training, afternoon for skill practice, evening for planning or reflection. This structure ensures daily consistency. Instead of randomly doing a bit of everything, you use each block consistently across weeks, forming a rhythm. Over 3 months, that rhythm shapes a new normal. If, for example, you dedicate 30 minutes every afternoon to studying a language, by day 90, you'll have accrued significant knowledge simply by honoring that daily block. Major breakthroughs often appear in the latter half of the program after initial excitement dulls and new habits solidify. The first few weeks might see enthusiastic leaps, but real depth emerges once you've repeated a routine or skill practice so often that it feels like a second nature. Day 45 through day 60 might test your resolve. You're far in, but not near the finish. If you push steadily, then you often emerge on the final stretch with a robust sense of momentum. This mid-phase is crucial. If you conquer the lull between novelty and completion, you prove to yourself you can maintain discipline beyond short bursts. Refining your self-talk is central to staying motivated across 90 days. When the routine grows tiresome, that little voice might say, maybe this is too much. I'll just go back to normal. You counter it immediately with something like, I'm right at the edge of leveling up. Let's keep going. This conscious redirection of thoughts, day in and day out, cements a determined mindset. Over weeks, your reflex to doubt or procrastinate shrinks, replaced by a readiness to adapt and persist. Strategically planning a treat or short break each week can reward sustained effort, preventing burnout. It could be a relaxing activity you enjoy or a small perk. These gentle rewards remind you that transformation doesn't mean denying yourself all pleasure. Instead, you're channeling energy toward worthwhile goals without neglecting rest or enjoyment. By pacing these mini breaks, you ensure the 90-day drive isn't a punishing sprint, but a balanced challenge you can maintain. Reflection not only marks progress, but also clarifies direction. Each week, you might pose simple questions. What did I do well? Where did I falter? And why? This yields insights into personal patterns. Maybe you find certain things best done early, or certain triggers that sabotage you. Adjusting after each reflection ensures you're not rigidly following a flawed plan. Instead, you adapt on the fly, honing your approach so you continuously refine your 90-day game plan. Keeping a snapshot of your before self can be a powerful motivator. If your goal is fitness, a quick photo or measurement set can serve as a baseline. If it's mindset, a journal entry describing your old doubts or limitations can help. When you reach milestones or approach the 90th day, revisiting that old snapshot can reveal how far you've come. The difference can be stark, fueling an extra wave of pride. Often incremental daily shifts feel too subtle to notice until contrasted with your starting point. That contrast cements the reality of your progress, protecting against any lingering self-doubt. A 90-day effort doesn't mean ignoring life's normal fluctuations, family events, work crunches, or unexpected hurdles. Instead, you plan for them. You might schedule lighter demands during a known busy spell or shift a big push to a calmer week. This adaptability keeps your plan realistic, which is critical if you're to avoid the frustration of repeated disruptions. If an entire week goes sideways, you regroup instead of discarding the program. After all, 90 days is sufficiently flexible to absorb occasional hiccups, as long as you consistently return to your core plan. Simplicity aids sustainability. If you layer in dozens of daily tasks, your plan might become cumbersome. 2 or 3 main daily actions, like a short workout, a skill lesson, or a reflective practice, done consistently, will often surpass a massive list of things you can't keep up with. That sense of manageability ensures you don't burn out in the early stage. By focusing on a concise set of daily must-dos, you ensure enough concentration and quality. If you have extra energy, you can go beyond these basics, but they remain your stable core. Undermining comfort zones is often part of self-reinvention. If you feel safe in routines that no longer serve you, scheduling minor daily discomfort, like learning a new aspect of your field or approaching a networking opportunity, keeps you in growth mode. Over 90 days, these incremental discomforts collect into significant expansions of capability or confidence. That shift might be intangible, like realizing you've become more socially poised or intellectually curious, but it marks real internal evolution. As you approach the final stretch, say the last 10 or 15 days, the crucial question is how to make the changes stick after day 90. You can begin smoothing the transition by gradually fading the more intense daily checks, turning them into a weekly habit. Or you identify which of the new activities will remain permanent fixtures, like continuing a scaled-down version of your workout or journaling routine. The key is not to drop everything on day 91. Instead, you decide what your new normal looks like, letting the 90-day pace recede while the core improvements stay intact. Many find that after living with heightened discipline, they crave a fresh challenge, whether it's building on the same domain or switching focus entirely. The confidence from completing one cycle often leads to another round, maybe focusing on a different skill or aspect of life. This iterative approach to 90-day transformations can lead to sustained personal evolution. You no longer see self-improvement as indefinite or vague, but as a series of tangible arcs, each culminating in a real sense of accomplishment and a visible shift in who you are or what you can do. Finally, the essence of these 3 months isn't just about hustle. It's about identity. You rewrite how you see yourself, discarding labels that once confined you and adopting a more fluid, expansive sense of possibility. The daily or weekly targets serve merely as vehicles for that deeper change. Each time you step outside your old boundaries, each time you stick to a habit you once flaked on, you affirm a new self-image. By the time the calendar hits day 90, you're not merely ticking off goals. You're noticing a shift in how you make decisions, manage emotions, and navigate your future. Defining precise objectives for your 90-day journey is one pillar of consistent progress. Many people drift aimlessly, harboring vague hopes of self-improvement, but lacking a roadmap that translates ambition into structured actions. Solidifying these goals involves not just naming them, like be fitter or boost confidence, but translating each into tangible, verifiable milestones. If you intend to improve fitness, you might aim to run a certain distance without pausing or hit a specific weight range for your lifts. If you're revamping your career direction, you might decide to complete a set number of courses or produce a particular portfolio, piece by day 60. These benchmarks transform broad ideals into something you can see forming week by week, dispelling the sense that the goal remains perpetually out of reach. Mapping these objectives onto a calendar cements the plan. You might designate certain weeks for foundational work, like brushing up on fundamentals, and block the final stretch for fine-tuning or integration. This structure clarifies how each day's effort contributes to a bigger vision. Visual cues can help. Some use a wall chart or a physical calendar pinned where they can't ignore it. Watching the days tick by triggers healthy pressure to stay on schedule, and each time you cross off a date after completing your tasks, you reinforce the habit of daily progress. The result is less guesswork. You wake up knowing exactly which mini goal takes priority, and you close out each day with a sense of accomplishment rather than drifting uncertainly. Prioritizing is equally important within these objectives. If your aspiration is extensive, say you want to overhaul your communication skills, your daily routine, and your financial habits all at once, it can be easy to spread yourself thin. Instead, isolate the core changes that will yield the biggest ripple effect. Maybe you decide that learning to communicate assertively can help with personal relationships and job prospects in one go, so you focus on that first. As you see real improvement, you gain confidence to tackle the next item without scattering your energy from the start. Over 90 days, this layered approach ensures you're not bogged down by too many simultaneous transformations. Managing the pace at which you introduce changes also matters. Dumping a dozen new habits into your life on day one can spark quick burnout. A gentler progression might involve adopting a couple of habits in week one, like a morning stretch routine and 15 minutes of reading, and then adding more once those feel natural. This phased method fosters deeper assimilation of each new habit rather than superficial attempts that fade within days. By the time you reach the midpoint, you've built a stable platform ready to integrate the next wave of changes without overwhelming yourself. Accountability thrives on honesty, so it helps to do a realistic self-audit at the outset. Where do you usually get stuck or give up? Maybe you lose steam after 2 weeks or sabotage your diet with weekend indulgences. By acknowledging these patterns, you can craft preemptive strategies, like planning a special meal that still fits your goals or scheduling a midpoint challenge so you don't slump around day 14. Each recognized pitfall becomes a puzzle you solve in advance, minimizing the risk of repeating old mistakes. This self-awareness can make your 90-day plan feel more personalized and less like you're blindly imitating others' methods. Physical health often underpins many forms of self-reinvention, so weaving in consistent exercise or movement can pay off, even if your primary focus is mental or creative growth. People underestimate how a brisk walk or a short workout can reset their mood and prime them for productivity. Building such a movement routine from day one and steadily escalating its difficulty or variety means that by day 90, you see tangible physical gains, plus an ongoing sense of vitality that supports your larger transformation. Each time you complete a session, you reaffirm the commitment that your entire lifestyle is shifting, not just isolated parts of it. Nutrition stands alongside movement, though it needn't be a rigid diet. You can incorporate a simple framework, add more whole foods, moderate sugary treats, and stay hydrated. Again, small measurable steps, like ensuring each meal has a veggie or choosing water over a certain sweet drink, accumulate over weeks. Combining that clarity with your broader 90-day plan fosters synergy. A healthier body fuels a sharper mind, which in turn helps you tackle other goals, be they learning, relationship building, or career advancement. Don't overlook the importance of your immediate circle when staging this transformation. If you spend time around people who doubt you or question every new habit, you may find yourself waging a daily morale battle. In some cases, a constructive conversation with them can ease tensions, explaining your 90-day commitment, how it works, and why you're devoting time to it. With luck, they might support or even join in. If they remain unsupportive, you accept that you might need to limit how much influence they have over your daily schedule or emotional energy, at least while you reinforce new behaviors. Minimizing unsupportive influences in these early stages can be pivotal. Planning for purposeful challenges can keep you engaged. Instead of waiting passively to see if you'll be tested, you engineer mild hurdles. If your aim is to build confidence in public speaking, you might schedule small speaking opportunities, like a local meetup or a short presentation at work. Meeting these self-imposed challenges ensures that your growth remains dynamic. You're not just improving in private, you're stepping into real-world scenarios that gauge your progress. Each success or partial success becomes a milestone, proving to yourself that your transformation extends beyond a checklist of solitary tasks. Building mental clarity through reflection is a daily or weekly staple for many successful 90-day plans. You can do a short brain dump each night, writing down key accomplishments, challenges, and the next day's target. This act purges lingering worries and lays out your upcoming action steps. By day 30, these logs tell a story of incremental improvement. By day 60, you see how far you've come and how to push further. As you approach day 90, the patterns in these reflections serve as a guide for final tweaks or that last motivational push. Humor and flexibility come into play because no plan goes flawlessly. You might get sick for a few days, or a major life event might derail your schedule. Rigid perfectionism often triggers discouragement in such times. A better approach is to keep your final vision in mind and adapt gracefully. Perhaps you reduce the daily demands, focusing on core tasks only until you recover. Once conditions stabilize, you reintroduce the suspended activities. This elasticity upholds momentum, even if it temporarily slows. By day 90, you'll see how essential it was to bend rather than break under pressure, preserving the larger commitment. An emphasis on scaling up is beneficial. If your aim involves skill mastery, start with shorter sessions that gradually lengthen as your proficiency increases. If your goal includes reading widely, begin with a set number of pages, then expand as it becomes routine. This scaling ensures continuous challenge, You never stagnate because each new level pushes you slightly further. Over 90 days, this method can transform modest starts into robust habits, offering a sense of tangible escalation. You look back and notice how the things that once seemed hard are now your baseline. Support networks or small groups can transform the experience from a solitary push into a collective journey. If you find even 2 or 3 people who share a desire for self-reinvention, you can exchange weekly updates or short daily messages of encouragement. Seeing others tackle obstacles can remind you that rough patches are normal and solvable. Similarly, your successes can motivate them. A shared environment of ambition and accountability fosters a sense of team spirit. Even if your goals differ, the structure of daily discipline resonates. Over 3 months, these alliances become a backbone of morale and resource sharing. Designing short challenges or self-imposed milestones at set intervals, maybe days 21, 45, and 70, creates mini climaxes within the 90-day arc. Each milestone can be a test or demonstration of what you've learned. A mini hackathon if you're learning a programming skill, or a short performance if you're practicing an instrument. This framework fuels motivation because you're not relying solely on the final day for validation. Each milestone success or shortcoming informs your approach to the next phase, ensuring you adapt well before the grand finale. Celebrating improvement in intangible areas, like mental resilience or emotional maturity, can be tricky, but is equally important. Maybe you used to get flustered under mild criticism, but now handle feedback calmly. If you log these shifts, your 90-day record includes not just physical or numeric achievements, but subtle growth in how you respond to life's friction. Tracking emotional metrics might mean noting how quickly you bounce back from a setback, or how rarely you slip into certain negative patterns. Over weeks, these data points reveal that you're not just changing outward habits, but evolving internally. As the days accumulate, it's common to sense a momentum that transcends the tasks themselves. You start viewing your daily routine as a foundation for ongoing transformation, recognizing that you could repeat a similar approach for different goals in the future. The 90-day structure morphs into a template for any big shift. Set clear goals, break them down, review weekly, adapt, and push through final hurdles. This cyclical approach can anchor you whenever you decide to pivot or level up again, making reinvention a lifelong strategy rather than a one-off event. If at any point you worry you've picked the wrong targets or your goals are too lofty, reevaluation is better than quitting. Perhaps your initial plan was unrealistic, or you discovered new interests along the way. A mid-course adjustment might see you pivot from, say, building a certain skill to focusing on a related skill that feels more aligned. This shift doesn't undermine your 90-day transformation. It refines it. As long as you remain dedicated to the overarching theme of self-betterment and set up new milestones accordingly, you continue forward with minimal time wasted. Documenting your experiences in any form, be it a journal, voice recordings, or a private blog, can transform intangible progress into a storyline you can reflect on. You capture small breakthroughs and even comedic missteps, forming narrative that reminds you how far you've traveled. This record can inspire you on tough days, and once the 90 days conclude, it becomes a reference for how you overcame obstacles. Next time you embark on a transformation, you'll have a personal manual of sorts, clarifying what worked, what hindered you, and how to pace yourself effectively. Reframing slip-ups is critical. You might set a goal of completing an online course by day 30, but find yourself behind schedule. Instead of labeling it failure, adapt, reduce, or reassign some things, or schedule an intense catch-up block. The crucial part is not letting inertia set in once you fall behind. Adjust your plan or your daily routine to accommodate the new reality, then continue. That sense of fluid problem solving under pressure is what truly reshapes your identity. You realize you can adapt rather than stall, forging resilience that extends beyond these 3 months. As you near the final stretch, a blend of excitement and reflection emerges. You might notice certain changes have fully integrated, like a daily workout you now do almost automatically, while others remain a bit forced. The last week or two is an ideal time to focus on cementing the transformations that still feel tentative. If you've adopted a new creative practice but aren't fully comfortable, dedicate extra sessions to deepen your fluency. These final adjustments can mean the difference between partial improvement and a robust new habit that will outlive the 90-day window. On day 90 itself, or close to it, the real payoff surfaces in how you perceive yourself. You started with a list of goals. Now you have evidence of consistent, determined effort. Whether that evidence is in your changed physique, your polished skill set, your calm under pressure, or your elevated sense of discipline, you see the distance traveled. The transformation is not just in the tasks ticked off, but in the daily routine you've molded. A routine that, if you choose, can become your baseline going forward. Ultimately, the 90-day blueprint fosters an outlook that reinvention is possible without endless waiting. That structure plus adaptability breed success, and that your past limitations need not dictate your future trajectory. Selecting a handful of powerful habits can anchor your 90-day reinvention, acting as daily reminders that you're in a phase of accelerated growth. These habits need not be monumental individually. Often the most transformative ones are small and repeatable, forming a consistent base that underpins every other goal. It might be a 15-minute morning routine of movement, reflection, and planning, or an evening ritual that separates the day's to-dos from a short session of study or creative exploration. Each time you perform one of these habits, you reinforce the identity of someone undergoing targeted self-change, steadily reorienting your subconscious away from old inertia. When developing these habits, it's helpful to piggyback them onto existing routines. If you already brew tea each morning, attach a short reading session to that time. If you end each evening closing your laptop, follow it with 5 minutes of journaling. By linking the new habit to a well-established activity, you lower the mental barrier, removing the need to find a separate time slot or muster extra willpower. Over the first weeks, this technique of habit stacking can make the difference between a smooth assimilation and a habit that fizzles out. Tracking these habits in a straightforward manner, like a simple checklist or a digital log, keeps you honest about consistency. Each day you mark whether you did it or not. This tangible record helps you see patterns. Maybe you realize weekends are trickier, or certain weekday mornings get derailed by early meetings. That knowledge leads to easy adjustments, like shifting the habit to lunchtime on weekends or rearranging your schedule on meeting days. The ongoing data prevents you from rationalizing a lapse. You either did it or you didn't, and you can respond accordingly. Iteration is key in habit formation. Sometimes a chosen habit proves too demanding or too vague. If you find yourself repeatedly missing it, dissect why. Perhaps the habit is too time-consuming, or it clashes with another obligation. Refine it so it becomes more doable without losing the core purpose. If you aim for a 30-minute workout but consistently fail, shift to 15 minutes at 2 different times in the day. Or if your meditation goal is lost in the flurry of morning tasks, move it to a calmer afternoon slot. This approach ensures you don't abandon the habit altogether, but sculpt it until it fits. While smaller habits build a reliable framework, you can also establish 1 or 2 bigger weekly challenges, perhaps a longer run, a more in-depth skill practice session, or a thorough organizing spree. These bigger things can serve as a weekly highlight, ensuring you don't only operate in bite-sized chunks. Over the 90 days, each weekly challenge grows your capacity or deepens expertise in a way that basic daily habits might not fully cover. And because it's just once a week, you can handle it without burning out. The synergy of daily micro habits plus a weekly macro challenge fuels both consistency and substantial leaps. Accountability can also be woven into these habits. If you have a buddy or coach, you might send them a quick message whenever you complete your daily habit, like a photo of your progress or a short note. Day 12 of journaling done. This simple act cements the routine in your mind, and having someone witness it adds an extra layer of motivation. Over time, the habit's momentum grows more self-sustaining, but that external nod can be invaluable, especially during the early weeks when novelty wears off. Evolving your habits as you grow ensures they stay aligned with your rising ability level. For example, if you started with a 5-minute meditation, you might jump to 10 minutes after 2 weeks, then 15 a few weeks later. And this progressive load keeps you from plateauing. Similarly, if a habit has become too easy or routine, you can spin off a related but slightly more challenging habit, like adding a gratitude note after each meditation session or layering a new skill exercise onto your daily reading time. The mind thrives on incremental challenge, so keep elevating the baseline as you adapt. Reinvention often involves letting go of a few long-standing habits that no longer serve you. Some of these might be time-wasting routines, like watching hours of TV nightly, or they might be negative thought patterns, such as catastrophic thinking whenever a challenge arises. Uninstalling an old habit can be as deliberate as installing a new one. You first identify the cues that trigger the behavior, then replace the response with something more positive. Deliberate as installing a new one. You first identify the cues that trigger the behavior, then replace the response with something more positive. Another powerful habit is regular visualization. Taking a brief moment, could be at dawn or before bed, to imagine yourself on day 90 having achieved a marked transformation. You see yourself completing things with confidence, notice changes in your daily approach, or envision the new skill you've mastered. This mental rehearsal not only boosts motivation, but also encodes the brain to believe the journey is feasible. Where doubt might creep in, you override it with a clear mental picture of success. When building multiple habits, grouping them in a logical sequence or cluster can streamline daily routines. If you have 3 small morning habits, like drinking water, journaling, and stretching, you place them in immediate succession, forming a smooth chain. This prevents downtime between habits, reducing the chance you wander off or skip one. After finishing one, you automatically pivot to the next, building a mini routine that takes only 20 minutes but packs a tangible impact. Over weeks, that morning block becomes second nature. Less mental energy is spent deciding what to do next. Setting a fallback plan for days You're unusually busy or fatigued is wise. If your main habit is a 30-minute skill session, maybe your fallback is at least 10 minutes if the day gets chaotic. By having a scaled-down version, you ensure consistency doesn't break. Psychologically, sticking to at least a minimal practice keeps momentum alive, preventing the sense of, I failed today, might as well reset tomorrow. This approach fosters a continuous streak, albeit with variable intensity, preserving the habit loop rather than interrupting it. Managing how you speak about your habits also matters. If you talk of them as chores, I have to do my writing. They remain burdens. If you frame them as stepping stones to your reinvention, this is my daily creative session. You engage them with more enthusiasm. Language molds attitude, and attitude sustains commitment. Over 90 days, this positive framing steadily rewires your association. You start looking forward to these habit blocks as moments of personal development, not obligations you must push through. Some people incorporate habit trackers that automatically log progress, like marking a calendar with an X each day you complete your push-ups or meditations. Over time, you see a chain of X's you don't want to break. This visual representation can foster a sense of pride and continuity, especially when you've built a streak lasting weeks. Missing a day feels like a bigger deal, motivating you to find ways around typical excuses. Once you cross that threshold of habit mastery, the daily actions feel like second nature, furthering your transformation with minimal conscious effort. A variety of daily, weekly, and monthly habits might coexist in your plan. Daily habits form the bedrock, giving you steady micro-progress. Weekly habits add a larger challenge, like reading an entire book chapter or completing a scaled creative project. Monthly, you might tackle a more significant milestone, like finishing a draft, hosting a practice session, or refining a key skill. Layering these timelines ensures you're building a cohesive lifestyle shift. Each day, you honor short tasks. Each week, you address moderate goals. Each month, you hit bigger checkpoints. Over 90 days, these layers intertwine, culminating in a well-rounded advancement across multiple fronts. Once a habit is firmly ingrained, it can be wise to push it slightly further to avert stagnation. If your daily writing habit stabilized at 20 minutes without fail, try 25 or 30 after a few weeks, or deepen it by adding a short reflection session. This prevents you from coasting on autopilot, keeping progress lively. However, do it incrementally. You don't want to sabotage a stable habit by suddenly making it too hard. The idea is gentle escalation. Refine and expand as your comfort grows. When the 90 days wind down, you typically see a set of habits that define the new you. Protect them going forward by planning how they'll transition into your routine after this structured period ends. If you built up daily exercise from zero, you might not keep the exact same schedule, but you keep a version that fits your ongoing life. The real success is not just hitting a peak at day 90. It's emerging with habits that continue paying dividends in the months or years ahead. Ultimately, these anchors of consistent behavior form the backbone of any reinvention effort. While short bursts of willpower might impress for a week or two, it's the daily repetition of carefully chosen habits that cements long-term identity change. Over 3 months, you prove to yourself that these new routines aren't foreign experiments, but part of who you are becoming. That realization fuels a sustainable transformation, where each habit is less a rule you're forcing and more a natural component of your upgraded life. Progress over a 90-day reinvention often hinges on adopting a growth mindset that frames every hurdle as a potential stepping stone. When you choose to see obstacles as chances to learn, rather than evidence you're incapable, you cultivate the resilience needed for real transformation. This isn't an abstract principle. It's applied daily, especially when unexpected setbacks or frustrating plateaus appear. Instead of concluding that a skill is beyond you or that circumstances are stacked against you, you question how you can adapt. Maybe you alter your practice technique, seek a mentor's guidance, or shift your schedule. Each problem becomes a cue. Reevaluate, refine, move forward. Emphasizing process over perfection keeps frustration at bay. If you define success only by immediate, flawless results, you'll be tempted to quit whenever something goes wrong. But if you appreciate the process, like dedicating 20 minutes a day to a skill or steadily integrating a new mindset, then each day you put in the time is a success. You might not see spectacular outcomes after every session, yet those sessions accumulate into lasting change. This process orientation translates to more patience with yourself, letting you try creative strategies when progress slows instead of immediately labeling yourself a failure. Sometimes you might realize you're overcommitting or misjudging the time it takes to master a certain skill. A growth mindset acknowledges that mastery isn't linear. You might progress quickly at first, then hit a plateau that feels confusing or disheartening. Instead of giving up, you dig deeper, perhaps rechecking your fundamentals or seeking fresh resources. This willingness to pivot stands as the essence of reinvention. You're not rigidly forcing the plan you wrote on day one if experience shows a better path. As you adapt, you fine-tune your 90-day roadmap in real time, ensuring that your transformation remains agile rather than overly scripted. Seeking feedback is another way to accelerate progress under a growth mindset. If you're practicing public speaking, you might record short talks and share them with a trusted friend or colleague for critique. If you're refining your writing, you submit pieces to a small group for input. This feedback loop exposes blind spots you might miss, helping you recalibrate more effectively. Initially, it can sting to hear areas for improvement, but a growth mindset interprets these critiques as gifts, maps, guiding you past plateaus. Over 90 days, consistent feedback can drive you to a standard of performance you wouldn't reach alone. A crucial element is unlearning old stories about yourself that claim certain transformations are impossible. Maybe you grew up believing you're disorganized by nature or that you're not cut out for leadership. Over time, these beliefs harden into self-fulfilling barriers. Now, with a growth mindset, you actively dismantle them. You might keep a quick journal where each day you note one instance of organizational success or a small leadership moment, like running a short meeting or planning a family activity. Accumulating these real-life examples challenges the old narrative. You're essentially rewriting your self-definition, showing that you can become more organized or adopt leadership traits if you steadily practice them. This daily evidence dissolves the "I can't" mentality. Experimentation serves as a practical extension of this mindset. Rather than clinging to a single method or approach, you allow for trial and error. If your 90-day objective is to switch careers, you might test small freelance gigs, shadow a professional for a day, or engage in short self-led projects to see what genuinely sparks interest. Each experiment produces data. Do you find it fulfilling? Is the learning curve too steep? Does your skill set match well? This keeps you from sinking 90 days into a path that might not fit. Instead, you iteratively refine your direction, each pivot guided by fresh insights rather than guesswork. Maintaining a sense of wonder can shield you from cynicism when challenges mount. A short gratitude practice or reflection at the end of each week can remind you why you began this transformation. Even if the path is bumpy, noticing how you've grown keeps your motivation stable. You realize obstacles are part of the narrative, a narrative that, if you persist, ends with a version of yourself more capable and more open to future transformations. Prolonged humility is another anchor. Adopting a growth mindset means accepting there's always more to learn. Sometimes the 90-day plan reveals areas you're weaker in than expected, or pursuits you find unexpectedly difficult. You might have to revisit basic steps or seek foundational knowledge you skipped. A mindset of humility helps you do this without shame. You see it as building a stable base for future leaps, not proof of inadequacy. This approach to humility is empowering. You stand secure in your worth, yet open to the idea that you're a lifelong student in many areas. That posture keeps frustration minimal and curiosity high. Monitoring your mental and emotional states throughout each day can also help. If you notice a dip in energy or mood, you can check if the cause is a minor frustration with a task, a need for a short break, or perhaps an emotional trigger. Catching these dips early avoids hours of muddled distraction. You apply a quick fix, like a short walk, a deep breath, or a recheck of your plan, and then carry on. Over time, you train yourself to react to challenges with calm resourcefulness, a core trait of a growth mindset. Instead of fuming or shutting down, you pivot gracefully. Even adopting an approach of progress journaling can consolidate this mindset. Every few days, you examine the before and after state of your skills, routines, or even your mental landscape. You might write something like, 3 days ago, I struggled with X, but since then, I've tried Y technique, and it's a bit easier. Documenting these micro victories cements the belief that you're evolving in real time, banishing the notion that change is an elusive, someday thing. You see the evidence in black and white, fostering a sense of unstoppable momentum. When you share your progress or lessons learned with friends or a community, you reinforce the growth mindset even further. Explaining how you overcame a stumbling block clarifies your own process, ensuring you internalize it. Listeners might offer new angles or share parallel stories. This exchange keeps your transformation from feeling lonely or hidden. While you remain the primary driver of your 90-day journey, input from a supportive network can expand your perspective and help you push through lulls. Plus, teaching or summarizing your experiences for others deepens your mastery. Spending time daily in reflection or meditation can sharpen self-awareness, a pillar of adopting a growth mindset. A few minutes of quiet each morning or evening can bring clarity about how your day aligned, or didn't, with your goals. The synergy between reflection and action is where the growth mindset thrives. You don't dwell on mistakes. You process them, identify the lesson, and apply it. Over the weeks, you accumulate these mini lessons, forging a robust sense of self-efficacy. At some point in the 90 days, you'll look back and be stunned by how frequently you overcame small but persistent hurdles. This repeated triumph over adversity, albeit mild adversity, anchors the conviction that more challenging goals are within reach. A growth mindset also reminds you that results might not arrive uniformly across all areas. If you're working on a new language, you might see leaps in vocabulary while struggling with grammar. If you're building physical strength, certain muscle groups may progress faster than others. Instead of feeling deflated by uneven progress, you target the lagging aspects with more focused practice. You adapt your routine rather than doubting your overall capacity. That flexibility is the hallmark of genuine reinvention, forging onward while acknowledging that growth rarely moves in a straight line. Maintaining optimism during ruts or plateaus is often the hardest test. By approaching these stalls as natural phases in any learning curve, you keep frustration in check. During these periods, you might do a fresh self-challenge, like an unusual exercise routine or a new approach to the skill, just to jolt yourself out of monotony. This tactic can help break through the plateau, and even if it doesn't, it sustains your morale by showing you're still trying new angles. Eventually, you see that a growth mindset isn't a single tool, but the lens through which you interpret every success and failure. Even beyond these 90 days, you can keep that lens turned on, consistently reframing obstacles as stepping stones. That shift endures long after your official reinvention period ends. While the 90 days may catalyze big changes, the deeper reward is the worldview you develop, seeing yourself as an adaptable learner with potential that continues to expand each time you step beyond your comfort zone. By layering each day's effort with this flexible, optimistic perspective, you end up not just changing certain behaviors or hitting certain targets, but also renewing your fundamental orientation to challenges. This intangible yet powerful shift in attitude carries over into every corner of your life, ensuring that what starts as a 90-day experiment can become the blueprint for ongoing reinvention, repeated whenever you feel the need to raise the bar or alter your trajectory. You walk away with not just achievements, but a sense of mastery over the process of self-improvement itself, prepared to replicate it whenever fresh dreams or challenges arise. The most remarkable part of any 90-day self-reinvention is how the small daily changes form a bigger story. You began with a framework, clear goals, structured habits, environmental tweaks, an open-minded approach and these pieces work together to reshape how you think, act, and progress. Each day's effort seemed modest, a few minutes of focused work, a short burst of exercise, a tiny shift in self-talk, but the consistent repetition wove them into your identity. Challenges you once found daunting became routine, and each stumble was viewed as a cue to adapt rather than an excuse to quit. By the time the calendar approached that 90-day mark, you realized the transformation ran deeper than ticking off tasks. Your mindset had pivoted from quick fixes to thoughtful, purposeful living. A concise period of intense dedication can produce a lasting ripple effect. You see how easily short-term discipline can morph into ongoing self-sustaining growth. Because once you experience real traction, you're less inclined to slip back into inertia. Even the tasks you considered temporary can stick around if they continue to benefit your life. The end of this formal period doesn't signal a return to old patterns. Rather, it sets a new baseline from which you can target fresh goals, refine your daily routines, or engage in further learning. In that sense, the 90-day reinvention is just the start of a larger narrative, a proof of concept that shows you can reorient yourself powerfully and methodically. And once you've done it once, you carry the tools, habits, and self-belief to do it again whenever you decide it's time for another leap forward.